Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. So today's video is all about those bake sale treats and desserts. This is part of an open collab hosted by Valerie at the Harget Live. So make sure you check out the entire playlist as well as her channel. It'll all be linked in the description box. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're excited to see these desserts, and let's go ahead and get into this first one. So we have Lunch Lady peanut butter bars, or sometimes also called school cafeteria peanut butter bars. This is kind of one of those recipes a lot of people remember having from school, like when they used to kind of cook more homemade things. But in here I have some brown sugar, some sugar, and some butter that I'm just creaming together. Now this recipe called for margarine, but I did substitute butter and that worked just fine, so either should work well. So in case you're new to my channel, I do all kinds of food recipes, what's for dinners. It's all about the food over here. So if that sounds like something you'd like to see more of, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. I definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all. Now in this bowl, we've added a couple of eggs in there. We're just getting that mixed in really well. And just make sure to scrape that down every so often just so you get everything incorporated well. Now we're adding in our peanut butter. And I'm sure you could probably use crunchy in here if you like crunchy. I used creamy. It didn't specify, but I would say that, if you want a little crunch in there, you definitely could use that. And then we've got some vanilla going in there as well. We're just going to mix that really good together. So do any of y'all have like food memories from school, like something that they made at school that you wished you could recreate, or that you have even recreated at home? I'd love to know what all y'all remember. I remember getting it's like a cherries jubilee thing that was really good, and just different things like that. I think we had some bars like this. I just think it's always so neat how food can, relate to memories. I just think that's interesting, and it can bring back a lot of memories. And I'm just adding in some oats and some flour in here and some baking soda, and then that's going to be our dry ingredients, so we're going to get that all mixed well in here. Now I did something a little different for the icing. It had a recipe for icing, but I was kind of wanting like well, I don't know if y'all have ever had Coca-Cola cake, but I make one of those, and I'll make it sometime for the channel too because it's really good. But you actually cook the icing, and this one didn't call for that, and I kind of wanted that kind of icing, so I went ahead and did that instead. So I'll show you that in a minute. But here's our batter, and we're just going to press this out into a pan. And I would recommend definitely, buttering your hands or using some gloves or something like that. That way it doesn't stick to your hands, because I did try it a little bit with a spatula, but I ended up having to get in there with my hands to do it. And I used a large sheet pan. The recipe actually called for a 9x13 pan, but I feel like this would have been too thick in my opinion. This made them more like the bars that you think of, to me anyway. So keep that in mind when, if you make it. That you could definitely do it in the 9x13 pan, but it all fit in a large sheet pan as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this icing mix. So in the saucepan, I've added a stick of butter, some milk, some cocoa powder, and I'm just going to heat that until it all dissolves and gets mixed together well. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our powdered sugar, and that's going to make our icing. I just love this icing, and I'm sure the one that came with the recipe would have been really good too, but I kind of just wanted to do that cooked part. That one didn't require for it to be cooked, so I thought it might be a little different. But this is, I just love this one from that Coca-Cola cake. So we're just pouring that on our peanut butter bars, and this is going to definitely need to set up. I'd recommend putting it in the refrigerator for a little bit and letting it sit up. And you could even add a little more powdered sugar to make it a little thicker too. But this worked out fine for us, especially once it's set up. This was really good, y'all. You just can't hardly beat peanut butter and chocolate together. That's such a delicious combination. And of course, once it gets cooled and set up, you can go ahead and cut it into bars. The parchment paper really makes that a lot easier too. But I cut them before they fully set up. I set them in the fridge a little after because we were wanting to go ahead and try some. So you can see a little bit of the frosting kind of dripping off of them, which I think looks actually really good. But I definitely recommend this recipe. It was really, really delicious. So next up, we have homemade chocolate chip cookies. Now this recipe is actually my daughter's favorite. I remember even when she was younger, she would ask me to do it for her birthday and things like that. She absolutely loves this recipe because I add oatmeal to it. So I've got some brown sugar, regular sugar, and then some butter that I'm just creaming together here. And then once that's creamed really well, we're going to go ahead and add in our eggs and get that incorporated. Homemade cookies really are so easy to throw together. I always forget sometimes just how quick and easy it is. And I still love, just like I've mentioned before, that, you know, when you make anything homemade, you know exactly what goes in it. So I love that part of making my own stuff like that. Just so, and I can adjust things as I would like to. And I definitely encourage you to experiment with that, because you know, that way sometimes you can cut back on sugar and it still be just as good, or you might use less chocolate chips or more, or you know, you can do all kinds of things. So I've just added some vanilla in here, as well as some baking soda that I just dissolved in hot water, and just a little bit of salt, and we're going to mix all that together and get it all good and incorporated. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and start getting in our flour and our ground oatmeal. So I just take oatmeal and grind it in a blender or food processor, whatever you have on hand that can do that. You could also leave it, you know, whole if you wanted to. It's just that makes it a little more like oat flour versus like, you know, actual pieces of oats, but it still adds that little bit of, you know, oaty texture to the cookies. And my daughter absolutely loves that. She loves oats in like cookies like that. So once we get all this flour in here, we're just going to go ahead and get this all mixed together. And then you can start adding in your chocolate chips. You can add nuts. You can do all kinds of stuff. This is really like a blank slate. You could use this dough and, you know, add Reese's Pieces, or, you know, mini M&Ms, or all kinds of different things, and make, you know, or, you know, make like those, what is it, monster cookies or whatever, and add all the stuff in there. But I had some that wanted some no chocolate chips on it, so that's what those were. And then I went ahead and did the rest with chocolate chips. And we're just going to scoop these out and bake them at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes or so. And then you'll just let them cool for a little bit on the cookie sheet, and then you can take them off and put them on a cooling rack, and then that way they can cool completely. But I do recommend you actually chilling this dough. Everyone wanted cookies that night, and so I was not successful in letting it chill, but it does, I feel like it just helps the cookies look better. And I feel like it definitely is a good step to do. So I really do encourage that. My husband wanted pecans in his, so I saved some to do pecans in and scoop those out. And then I actually took just a little bit of the batter left, and you'll see that in just a minute, and added some of those little caramel bits. I don't know if you've seen those before, but I kind of wanted to see if it would turn into kind of like a turtle cookie. And y'all, that was a really good combination. Like, it really worked out well. I will definitely do that again, because I love the caramel part and the nuts together. Like, it's such a good, and the chocolate, of course, it's such a good, you know, combination. So here they are out of the oven, and this recipe makes quite a few cookies. I don't remember exactly how many we got out of them, but you could even make smaller cookies if you wanted to, if you needed to get more. You could double the batch, all kinds of stuff, but these are delicious. Highly recommend. Our family really enjoys them. So next up, we have pineapple upside down cakes. And y'all, I love pineapple upside down cake. And how much better can you make it by just making it in little individual sized portions? So I love that idea. So I've got some yellow cake mix in here, 3 eggs, a cup of pineapple juice that I took from the crushed pineapple that we're going to be using, and some oil. And we're just going to mix that together basically by the directions on the box. I think you mix it for a couple of minutes. And then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and set that aside. And we're going to get started on our brown sugar mixture. So it's just going to be brown sugar and melted butter. Now I took 2 recipes and kind of took from both. So I did a little different than, you know, each recipe said, but I felt like, you know, certain elements I wanted from certain ones and that type of thing, but they're pretty similar. I think either recipe would be fine, and you could definitely do exactly how I did it too, however you like to do it. So once we've got that mixed together, we're going to put a teaspoon in each of our muffin tins, and we're just going to kind of spread that out so that it's kind of coated the whole bottom. And this recipe actually makes 24 of these, so I have another pan too. I just show you the one pan since it's really the same process for all of it. But on this one, I actually used a half a maraschino cherry in each one too, and those actually turned out so much prettier than the others. Like, I've usually don't always use maraschino cherries with upside down cake, but it really does make it so pretty. And so we're just going to take close to a tablespoon, just kind of eyeball it on that. One of the recipes did say a tablespoon, but if I had used a full tablespoon, I wouldn't have had enough pineapple. So just kind of, you know, you may have to take a little and kind of spread it out. And then once we get all that pineapple spread out in there, we're going to go ahead and fill it with our batter. And I just use a cookie scoop. It's kind of a probably more of a medium size. I'm not sure exactly what size, but and that filled them perfectly. That was the exact right amount for them. And then I just got both of those pans in the oven and baked those at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes or so. Check them at 20 and then see, if they're good and done. Once they come out, go ahead and loosen the sides with like a spatula. That way they'll come out really easily. And then basically, once you let them cool for just a few minutes, not too long because you don't want them to get cool, you're just going to flip them out on a rack. And the ones with the cherries actually came out perfect. It came out just right out of the rack. I was so shocked. The other ones I had to tap a little and get them out, and I think a couple of them I had to get out. I actually made 2 of them for my husband with no pineapple topping. You can see them back there because he didn't want pineapple stuff on his. So these were amazing, y'all. I highly recommend, if you love pineapple, to make this recipe. This was so good. You could serve them with like a little whipped cream or a little ice cream if you wanted to, but I love the taste that brown sugar gives and the butter to the pineapple. So good. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I can't wait to check out the playlist myself and see what all yummy things everyone's made. Don't forget to check that out, as well as Valerie's channel. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd give me a thumbs up. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.